Imagine the forest whispering its ancient secrets into your ear, promising the power to thrive where modern life feels hollow. What if the key to thriving today is hidden in the rustle of leaves that our ancestors listened to thousands of years ago? In the next few minutes, we will pull back the veil on that forgotten knowledge and show you how it can still empower your life. Ready to decode the language of the earth? Welcome to Untamed Heritage, where we reconnect humanity with the wild. In a world that constantly pulls us away from the natural pulse, stress and disconnection have become the norm. Yet the people who walked these lands before us survived and flourished by living in harmony with the land, listening to its rhythms and honoring its generosity. Today we'll explore three concrete skill sets that once kept entire cultures alive: reading the language of plants, navigating using only the sky and the land, and tracking the subtle signs that animals leave behind. Along the way, we'll uncover the deeper principle that ties them all together: sustainable stewardship of the world that raised us. Let's begin with the green page of nature, the language of plants. Picture a spring-blooming herb, droplets of dew catching the first light. In ancient times, a forager could tell whether a berry was a nourishing feast or a deadly trap simply by the pattern of the leaf veins and the scent of the surrounding air. That skill came from observing morphology cues: the shape of a leaf, the texture of a bark, the way a stem changes color when it ages. The three-leaf clover, for instance, it was a sign of safety, while a plant with smooth, hollow stems and a faint sweet odor often warned of poison hemlock. Seasonal signals were another vital clue. When a flower unfurled its petals at sunrise, it signaled that the plant was ready for harvest, its nutrients at their peak. Early harvest meant higher energy. Waiting too long could mean bitterness or loss of potency. The ancients also learned to read medicinal whispers hidden in bark texture and sap color. The soft, reddish sap of willow, for example, hinted at its pain-relieving qualities. A natural aspirin waiting to be discovered. Think about a time you stumbled upon a wild plant that surprised you. What did you learn from that encounter? Drop a thought in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Now that we can read the green page, let's turn our gaze to the sky. Now, long before the age of satellites, nomadic tribes used the sun's arc, the dance of the stars, and the direction of the wind as a living map. By placing a straight stick upright in the earth and marking the tip of its shadow as the sun moved, they could find true north without any compass. When night fell, the North Star served as a steadfast beacon, while the belt of Orion acted as a road guide across the winter heavens. Even the shape of clouds could hint at upcoming weather, allowing travelers to choose the safest route. These ancient techniques were not just clever tricks, they were expressions of deep respect for the environment. By learning to move with the land rather than dominate it, our ancestors ensured that each step left the earth as undisturbed as before. If this is blowing your mind, Amory, hit that subscribe button and let's keep exploring together. With the plant's language and the sky's compass now in hand, the next chapter will reveal how to move through the forest with the silent grace of a predator, reading animal tracks and understanding the subtle rhythms of the wild. Stay tuned. The ancient hunters moved through the underbrush with a quiet that seemed to belong to the wind itself, each footfall measured, each breath synchronized with the rhythm of the forest. To understand how they achieved that level of stealth, we first need to look at the language of animal tracks. A fresh imprint in soft earth tells a story. The depth of the tread reveals the weight of the creature, the spacing between prints indicates its stride, and the angle of the heel shows whether it was moving toward or away from a water source. By studying the shape of a hoof versus a paw, the width of a tread, and even the subtle drag marks left by a tail, our ancestors could identify whether they were following a lone predator, a herd of grazing herbivores, or a shy nocturnal forager. One of the most valuable lessons comes from the way they interpreted signposts that animals left behind without even realizing it. A broken twig snapped at a certain height could signal a wary deer that had sensed danger, while a series of crushed leaves in a line often marked a well-trodden game trail. The presence of fresh droppings, gnawed bark, or a scattering of feathers gave clues about the health of the population and the best time to set a passive trap. The hunters would pause, listening for the faint rustle of a creature shifting its weight, and then position themselves downwind. using the natural scent patterns to remain invisible. The art of tracking was never a solitary pursuit. It was a dialogue with the ecosystem. When a hunter followed a trail, they would also observe the surrounding flora. Certain plants thrive in the disturbed soil that a herd leaves behind, while others grow only in untouched patches. By noting which seedlings sprouted near a path, the tracker could gauge how long ago the animals had passed and whether the area was still fresh enough for a successful hunt. This symbiotic awareness ensured that the hunter took only what was needed, leaving the rest of the meadow to recover. Stealth also relied on mastering the sounds of the forest. The ancient peoples learned which footfalls produced the least noise on different substrates: soft moss, dry leaf litter, or damp sand. They adjusted their gait, rolling their feet from heel to toe, and often used a light layer of natural materials, such as woven bark mats, to muffle any inevitable contact. In addition, they timed their movements with the ambient chorus of insects and birds, allowing the natural din to mask their approach. This practice not only increased their chances of success, but also reinforced a respectful relationship with the living world. They moved as part of the soundscape, never imposing a discordant rhythm. Now let us turn to the deeper principle that tied all these skills together: sustainable stewardship. The ancestors understood that the land was a living contract, a partnership that required balance. When they harvested a fruiting plant, they would leave a portion of the crop untouched, ensuring that seeds could fall and sprout for the next generation. In hunting, they practiced what modern ecologists call selective harvesting, targeting mature individuals while allowing younger ones to grow, thereby maintaining a healthy population structure. They also honored the spirit of the animal, offering thanks and performing rituals that recognized the life taken, a practice that reinforced a moral economy beyond mere survival. These time-honored practices can be woven into our modern lives, even if we reside in a bustling city. Imagine stepping into a community garden and identifying which herbs are thriving and which need a little extra shade, or using the position of the sun to orient a rooftop garden for optimal sunlight. Consider learning to read the weather by observing cloud formations and wind direction before you check a digital forecast, or walking a local park and noticing the subtle signs of wildlife: a fresh set of tracks, a feather, or a broken twig. Each small act of observation reconnects us with that ancient dialogue, reminding us that we are not separate from nature, but an integral thread within it. Think about a moment when you felt truly attuned to your surroundings. Perhaps a sunrise that painted the hills in gold, or the quiet hush after a summer rain. How did that experience shift your perception of the world? Share that memory in the comments. Hearing how others reconnect can inspire new ways to deepen our bond with the earth. As we wrap up this journey through the green pages, the starry compass, and the whispered trails, remember that the knowledge of our ancestors is not a relic locked away in dusty tomes. It lives on in the patterns of leaves, the arc of the sun, and the faint imprint of a paw in soft soil. By practicing plant reading, natural navigation, and mindful tracking, we reclaim a part of ourselves that modern life often dims. Each step taken with intention, each bite from a wild berry savored with respect, each night spent gazing at the constellations without a screen, revives the ancient rhythm that once pulsed through every tribe and tribe-like community. If you feel the pull of this timeless wisdom,